They ask me who I am, who I am. They ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. They ask me where I'm from, I told them you can pick a side. We worldwide, I'm an Israelite. Whether through scripts or history, no, I can show you. In the army of Yahuwah's, oh boy, I'm a soldier. Yes, they ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. When I say Israelite, they say you Jewish. Look, don't be foolish, come get a dose of this mental renewing. See how we brew it, it's just different. Like, for instance, first thing to know, bro, it's a culture, no religion. Talking the bloodline, they say we Jacob children. And yeah, that's a factor, but what really matter, how we living? Given that we gotta get Poseidon, that mean in order. For that we got that Torah, some brothers we got Basora. Of course, and some don't believe, but that don't matter today. I ain't tryna throw no shade, as long as we all staying away. That 613, we coolin' like palm trees. Look up with a yacht, yeah, ain't no fam, know what I mean. They ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. They ask me where I'm from, I told them you can pick a side. We worldwide, I'm an Israelite. Whether through scripts or history, no, I can show you. In the army of Yahuwah's, oh boy, I'm a soldier. Yeah, they ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. He said that we the light, got no choice but to shine. By the sweat of your brow, now you see why we grind. How we do, and we move to keep that ruach in our midst. When we eat, I got a list. Wanna build, break out them strips. We don't hate and we don't diss. We ain't worried about another. He called us his firstborn. You can call us big brother. Look deeper and you'll discover. In your movies and shows, you've been exposed. What you know about those captured and sold. The Igbo, then he and Shanti. Check out the history, never long. Ain't gotta find me. Right where we meant to be rebellion. Let the expulsion, repentance fix that. Y'all gotta get back. I can call them big facts. They ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite. They ask me where I'm from, I told them you can pick a side. We worldwide, I'm an Israelite. Whether through scripts or history, no, I can show you. In the army of Yahuwah's, oh boy, I'm a soldier. Yeah, they ask me who I am, I told them I'm an Israelite. That's right, I'm an Israelite.
And we ain't saying this our salvation tonight, but the Most High just put his name on it, so we represent. All praise, all praise. Shalom, shalom.
All right. Shalom, shalom. Lechochem to all of you. Welcome to YAH Conscience Radio, where if it's not YAH Conscience, it is not acceptable. ראשית, אנחנו רוצים לתת כבוד ושבח ליחווה אלוהי אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. First want to give honor and praise to the Most High Yah, He that causes to be or exists, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I hope all of you are doing well. Shalom, shalom to the panel. Echatem, how are you? You are muted.
Shalom, brother. All is well here. How about you?
Nito, I'm well. I'm good. How about you, Chief? How you doing, Chief Press? Good.
So that y'all for another day, bro.
I hear that. All righty. Today is going to be an interesting topic. An interesting topic indeed. Trying to give Akko Sharon the time to come back in. She dropped off. But nevertheless, gotta go ahead and move and keep it going. So the topic of today is a fork in the road. A fork in the road. This is an interesting set of questions or topics within this title. Fork in the road, you generally look at, you're on the road and it's like it's either go this way or go that way. And when you think about a lot of things pertaining to life, that's what you run into. You run into having to make choices and having to make decisions. Some of us face these choices and decisions wisely. We're able to maneuver within them, and without pressure sometimes. And me and Gabetta Kathy was just talking about, if you're okay with speaking on, like, not even speaking on, but if you're okay with me saying, like, when we was talking about your Bane, your son, and wise decision that he made. I'm sure a lot of us men would have wanted to be wise in that department. I don't know if it was just you or if it was you and the Ab or the father that really brought that knowledge to him or whatever, but a lot of us, so you have this fork in this road. These decisions come at you, whether they're positive or negative, and we just got to face it. So what's your all's thoughts on a fork in the road when pertaining to life?
Whew.
It's a lot on this one, right?
Yeah. If I can say me personally, where I am in life, the age that I am, I appreciate the forks in the road more so than I did in my younger days. Some forks that are presented to me are more complex than others, and you can't make that immediate decision whether or not that's the path you need to take or not. However, what I've learned in my experience, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that the forks in the road that are presented to you are presented by the Most High. And then you're given that opportunity to just decide what you think is going to be best for you. If you can take that route in deciding what's best for you, or you can commune with the Most High and you guys work together in regards to what is the best route for you to take. But I welcome those forks in the road because I identify them as change and evolvement.
I love it.
That's my take on it.
Wow. All right. Anyone else want to speak on that? Coach Sharon or Chief Prince Abulan, any thoughts on the fork on the road? On the fork in the road?
Yeah. The funny thing about those the proverbial forks in the road is that they only have value when there's a corresponding wisdom to go with it. I've learned this the hard way, like in my younger years. I mean, because like Avera Kathy says, you're presented with multiple forks all throughout your life. Every day there's a fork. There's a lot of eating going on, so forks are necessary. The problem, of course, with forks is that if you don't have the proper guidance, preferably elders, or at the very least, contemporaries who may have, further insight into certain things that you can benefit from. If you don't have these things at your disposal, those forks of the road can become lethal. And it kind of reminds me of that old adage that experience is the best teacher. The problem with that is that, yeah, you do learn the lesson. You do learn the experience. It teaches you the lesson, but it doesn't come without irrevocable damage. So you learn the lesson, but the damage that comes along with it, because you didn't have wisdom to go along with that fork, the damage, you can never undo it. So certain life decisions that you make can become lifetime crippling situations that you never actually bounce back from. Whether we're talking about career choices, Like you have people who go into certain fields of that they feel like, okay, this is what I want to do for my life, and then come to find out years later, find out that it's a dead end type of job or a situation, and then you spend the next 20, 30 years of your life going forward in these decisions because you're like, well, I'm already invested in it, so you keep going, but you go through, you're going through it, still feeling like, wow, that was a horrible, horrible mistake on my part. So so I say that with the forks in the road, the benefit, it's always beneficial when you have wisdom to correspond to these life um situations of going down these fork roads, because now you can look at the situation and say, well, I could do this, but history has shown in the history of this elder and these elders and this sister and that elder sister, it has shown me that no, probably better if I go this way.
Okay.
And even
Okay.
if it's not the best possible outcome, at least you're making decisions based on some level of intelligence rather than just winging how we usually do it in our youth. So that's pretty much how I view it.
Yeah.
I have a question.
So shoot.
So, in regards to I'm totally in agreement with you, Chief. And I'm personally taking that on an adult level. How does this correspond with our youth, with people younger than ourselves, who are often daily are presented with different forks in the road and trying to decide what is the best for them? Though that age group is not particularly always equipped or have people in their corner equipped to help them make the best decision for them in regards to what they should take in that fork in that road.
Were you just posing that generally, or was that directly to me? I didn't know.
No, it was general, but it piggybacked off of your statement, because I agree, but then I think that we need to categorize people, or should we categorize people? And we were talking about in the forks of the road, because some people are going to be a little bit more knowledgeable than others. What perspective should these young teens or young adults perspective should have in the fork of the road in regards to a fork in the road, and especially if they are not knowledgeable about the truth or have any sort of understanding or any sort of positive guidance in their life. Because a fork in the road for a kid here in Baltimore could be that Buki just came up to you and offered you a $2,500 deal if you just went and offed such and such and such and such. That's the reality of some of these kids' forks in the road. We were drumming in, and you correct me if I'm wrong, more so on adults, but that fork in the road is big, especially when you talk about our adults and then you level down to our children.
Can I jump in? So for me, these are one of those topics, right? That's why we're gonna go ahead and get into the questions. But these topics, like you just brought out, Gabetta Kathy, is very broad. Like we can literally have a few topics on this. So for me, my answer to that, it's gonna boil down to what we always been talking about um, through all of these lessons or topics, not lessons, all of these shows that we've had. We always talk about community and starting back from the elders and teaching down to the youth. Um, and probably even too with the elders when they're training up these young men, which is what Moshe did with Joshua, Yehoshua, which is what most of our culture actually did. They always trained up these younger men, or I'll say younger women as well, but younger men in regards to the ones I just mentioned. And they probably was kind of like, when you think of school, you have those them children that's like that go over and beyond in their grades and stuff, then they'll kind of be like tutors with the other children. We need that type of dynamic right now for the youth, and we're not seeing that on a large scale. I'm not gonna say it's not there, because I do know some personally that's doing it, but again, it's always been a remnant of the remnant. So to answer your question very simply, I would say we got to start back establishing some type of foundation structure with some type of hierarchy as to the elders kicking it off, or the men that are have a good rapport with the community, have a good reputation, that can start setting these goals to train up and grab these young men quick before they just get out there with the, what you say, you said, you didn't say pookies, you said somebody, but beat them to the punch and try to. And if you're taking them from something, I think Chief had said this a while ago. Somebody said this to me. When you're trying to take something away from someone to what they're used to, you got to try to substitute it with something that's almost equally as appealing. A lot of times we say somebody need to do this, but you're not showing them what's appealing about it. This is more attractive over here. This is more appealing over here. So I think we have to kind of learn from the wisdom and the structure of the Torah, or the Tanakh, I should say, but not revamp, but add into it for 2022. And that's dealing with, I'm talking to people within our culture, but just in the so-called Black community, I just think we just have to substitute. If we're trying to bring positive things and a different mindset to the youth, we have to substitute something that's attractive to them. That's my answer to that. Coach Sharon, did you have anything? Chief Prince Eberlin, you have anything to say what I said? Or better, Kathy, did you have anything in regards to what I just said? Oh, I see
Yeah,
your
no,
message.
no, that's no, that's very good points. The funny thing about wisdom is that wisdom is open canon, because it's an ever unfolding process. Like, this is the reason why you don't hear wise people saying that they're wise, because wisdom doesn't end. It's not a destination. It's not somewhere you can go and say, okay, look, now I am wise. It's an ever unfolding phenomena. So I mean, you can have certain insight into a particular subject, and you can have two individuals who are in the same situation, but you may not be able to give them the same exact angle of wisdom, because their circumstances might call for something slightly tweaked. Everybody doesn't. I mean, again, like, given the example what Guerrero Kathy said, but you could take two individuals who grew up in the same hood, exposed to the same drug situation, all of these things, alcoholic parents, drug addict parents, whatever, have all of these things. Same two individuals. Put them outside of that hood dynamic. One of them continues the hood narrative. The other one says, I'm not going to be involved in none of this nonsense, and takes off running in the opposite direction. How does that happen? If they've both been exposed to the same stimuli. So this is how we know that when it comes to wisdom, that wisdom is not this, this canonized set of, like preset kind of, like in music, automation. It's not an automation type of situation. You have to be able to look at each situation, take the principles of wisdom that you've accumulated over the years, take the Torah, take all of these things, and then you have to kind of design a special approach for each individual, for their need, for their specific needs. And sometimes you have to ignore even your own better judgment, because you might be looking at things you went through and say, well, my experience says A, B, and C.
That's it, right?
And it's very tempting for us to just give that perspective, but then you have to look at the person and say, well, they didn't quite go through some of the things that I've went through. So my perception, although my perception might be true, but it may not be true for them in their circumstances. So we got to be able to check our ego and say, okay, I want to tell them what I believe to be true, but I may have to tell them something slightly different for them to have the best possible outcome.
Okay.
So it's a process. That's why I say wisdom is an open canon.
Okay. Coach Ron, you got anything before we go into the first one?
I came in a little late. I would need you to expound more on the topics at hand.
Well, we haven't went over the topics just yet. We just went over the the title, A Fork in the Road. What was the perception of the thoughts of that? And me and Chief Prezebullah gave ours, and then Gabetta Kathy kind of came in with a different approach as far as for the youth. So then, how would we attach that to the youth? And then, I gave my thoughts on it, and Chief just kind of gave his. As far as the fork in the road, how the fork in the road is probably, I would have to. I forgot everything I said, but I said a lot. So basically, the fork in the road. What's your thoughts on that when it comes to having you're on the path and you have two different sets of directions, and what's the positive in it, what's the negative? I just wanted to see you all's thoughts on it, but it's not the topic per se. The topics are the other three questions I have for you.
Oh, okay, I got you. Not as of right now. We can get this thing rolling.
All right, then. All right, those that's tuning in, make sure you subscribe, like, and share if you can. Go on to YouTube and type in YAH Conscience Radio. You will find us there. First topic at hand. Let's go to it. So the first one is, with so many people believing that the Creator is talking to them, how does someone who is not as seasoned determine what is of YAH or higher, or simply coming from the people who are claiming it is from YAH? So how can they determine whether it's of the Creator or simply coming from the people who are claiming it is from the Creator? So I'm going to pass that to the better Kathy. What you got? You got anything on that? So many people believing that the Creator is talking to them. How does someone who is not as seasoned determine what is of the Creator, or simply coming from the people who are with? Now, I will say this: when I say seasoned, it doesn't mean that they're not, wise or even have up on those individual. But what people use when they say the term seasoned, they're talking about years,
right?
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's other sides to it, but I'm just going to use that. So, how do they determine? How do they determine this?
Well, my comeback on this, I'm going to reference Deuteronomy 20. Deuteronomy 18 verses 20 through 22, where Moshe is speaking and and you correct me if I'm wrong, as well as the other chief, where the Most High is stating that he's going to turn his face away from us, but not his voice, not that intuition. You know what I mean? So I think that I believe that the Most High do speak with us, and that if someone rises up and say they're a prophet, that definitely, and they better use the Most High name, and it better happen within that time frame. So I kind of, me personally, I don't rear up against prophets. I haven't met anyone or heard of anyone that's sitting up here prophesizing this is going to happen. I'm not saying it's not being done. I personally have not come across someone like that. But again, what do we, to present a question, are we talking about visions? Are we talking about the Most High talking to us, spiritually? Are we talking about the Most High talking to prophets? I just think a lot of it goes back to what we talked about over the course of our segments, is being educated and being knowledgeable of what the Most High tells us is going to be, how it's going to form, or how to diagnose these false prophets. So anyone that doesn't know that, of course, can be fooled. But I personally believe that the Most High speaks to me. It's not like is a voice. It's an anxiety. It's a feeling that I get. It's a hesitant feeling. And just over the years, I have determined that's the Most High guiding me, not necessarily chatting in my ear, but guiding my spirit or putting something on me to make me think twice about doing something, so I know I'm not going to see him, but I feel him. And I know the closer and closer that I build my relationship with the Most High, that there are certain things that my spirit is allowed to have revealed. But I can't really so much elaborate on the prophecy side of that. I'm not as familiar, and I would, allow you guys to speak to that. But I do think the Most High still deals with us individually in a spiritual way, mental way. We may not see his face, but I believe his presence is there. If that answers that first question.
All right, good job. I love it. I'll go ahead and take the next one. So, with so many people believing that the Creator is talking to them, how does someone who is not as seasoned determine what is of Yah, or simply coming from the people who are claiming it is from Yah? With me, I look at things in addition to what you said, because there was some good points that you brought out. I try to look at a lot of things. I don't just look at if, someone is talking about something that's to come to pass. There's nothing wrong with that. I know that's part of being a prophet, even though this was really not about being a prophet or anything like that. It was more so like a lot of people are always saying that, oh yeah, the Most High talks to me, or I know that the Most High is dealing with me. But then you're looking at how they move and how they operate, and it does not align with the consistency that we see in the text. If we're claiming that we are a part of the people within the text, like when you just look at it, it's like, okay, you're not aligning up completely. The knowledge pertaining to it is not aligning up completely. Now, am I to say that someone has to be super knowledgeable? I'm not saying that. We see in the text that the Most High has dealt with some that might not have been as knowledgeable. But when dealing with those people who wasn't as knowledgeable as far as with the culture, matter of fact, they probably was kind of knowledgeable, because now I'm thinking of a couple of them. But the one thing that they did do all in common, it was a form of obedience. It was a form of obedience when knowing that these individuals were operating or being spoke to or being handled by Yah, by the Most High. I think that for someone that is not as seasoned, it will be kind of hard, like you brought out, better if they're kind of ignorant to these things, and they're not knowing what direction to go in as far as, if it's something pertaining to studies, something pertaining to doctrine. All you're going to do is listen to what's being taught to you. And on the one hand, there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're being being covered or taught from someone that is balanced. But on the other hand, it's a big problem because it's a lot of just hearers versus doers. So how does one determine it? I would say you have to look at, is this individual, in my opinion, culturally based pertaining to the literature? I think that's a big part of it. I really believe it's a big part of it, because something that is not broke doesn't need fixing. So what I mean by that is if something has been going on for so long and then all of a sudden it's a change and a shift, but you're still trying to handle a literature that attaches to a people in the same manner, but you're doing different customs. I don't believe that to be the. I don't believe that's you're able to really say that this person is um, operating from the creator that we attach ourselves to, as far as from our forefathers and foremothers who identified with the Most High Yah. So hopefully that made sense. Maybe it sounds like some rambling, but in my mind it sounded right. I think it's a lot of different variables. I think it's a lot of variables. You just can't say, "Oh, this person sounds good." Um, you got to look at everything. Look at how they. Last thing I'm gonna say, just look at how they move. Um, look at how balanced they are. Some might not agree with me because some will say, "Well, everybody's getting better as they do this walk," and that's true. But it's still a consistency or a pattern with the individual as they're moving. Are they getting better? Are they intentionally moving to be better in the direction of what we claim this walk is about? Are they stagnant or complacent? Um, it's a lot of things. These are one of those broad questions to me. Um, I think the most important part is it aligning with those before us across the board. I guess that'll be my main answer. Is the person that's speaking and saying that the Most High Yah says this, or this is how we're supposed to move in the Most High Yah, is it aligning up with how the culture before them, does it align up how it was moving before them? And with that, I yield. I'll pass it to our coach Sharon.
Can I present a real quick question? A really, really quick question. And Sharon, Sister Sharon can even carry on to this. It's not something that needs to be answered immediately, but I want to throw out there. I have often ran past people that were homeless on the street that we may have deemed out of their mind, or have some sort of mental instability, and those people have mumbled words to you that, of course, when you look at them, but how many of you have experienced that, and then you encounter that in your life, and then you can refer back to that person that, again, is homeless, doesn't have that level of understanding? And the reason why I brought that up is because I personally have encountered people that I would never have thought that they would even have a tidbit of advice to advise because of their current situation. But because of their current situation, they actually were able to provide a lot more knowledge on things than you could even imagine. So I just want to, I want to throw that out there, because living in Baltimore, I encounter that a lot. I love dealing with my homeless people, the people that are on the street. Believe it or not, these people have a lot to say. For the most part, it's heartfelt. You know what I mean? I have just run across people that don't have any level of understanding other than life itself. And that's what they're giving you, their life advice.
Well, the context behind more so, I would say, the context behind the question more so is, and I probably should have prefaced that so likely, because I agree with you. I remember you brought this up last time, and my answer to the question or the statement was more so that it rains on the poor, the rich. It rains on the wicked, the righteous. So what you were bringing out, which is still a fact, that was the still wisdom. You could have somebody that had been a drunk for 40 years that can give you sound advice as to why not to. But in the context of this, I was speaking more so like you have people in the church, you have people, Israelites, you have people, whoever, and they're saying this is of Yah. So and they have people under them that might be learning that's not as seasoned. How do they determine? So I agree with you. I think everybody that's listening, You can learn something from a child. I think I said that too when we brought this up last time. You can learn something from a child. So that's just, wisdom is wisdom. I don't believe it has an age. But in this context of this question, which I still love that you brought that out, because everybody that's listening now probably didn't hear when you brought it up last time. It's a great point. I was just talking about on this question, just the context of people who have some type of authority or some type of leadership, whether Christian, whether Israelite, whether whatever. How can you determine that they are truly of YAH? I pass that over to Coach Sharon.
So, my answer is going to be pretty simple with this. Um, the 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 best way to know, I want to start with an unseasoned person first. An unseasoned person can determine what is of YAH just by studying the statutes, laws, and commandments. Um, Also, just by studying how the Most High deals with the people and how the Most High works. Um, for an example, it's a lot of people do run rapidly in the community thinking that the Most High, like every little thing, the Most High is trying to tell you a magnificent uh, sign, or trying to give you like a very magnificent message, where sometimes it can be a teaching moment, or sometimes it can just be something that, it can just be a natural cause of something. For an example, if I stub my toe, why do it got to be like, oh yeah, the Most High telling you something? Why it can't be like, all right, I stubbed my toe because I walked in this direction and the chair was directed in this direction, you know? But
Oh man,
the
that's true.
the way I know, the way that I can advise someone, someone unseasoned, as far as like the Most High telling them something, we are naturally we are naturally intuitive. So if you get a pre-notion, if you get a pre-intuitive feeling, and then you go on and do something, and that something kind of like backfire on you, that's the best way that I can advise someone. Like, yeah, maybe that's the Most High telling you something. I always, in my doings and in my dealings with the Most High always deal with me immediately. Immediately. It is so funny because I had talked about this on my Instagram today, where my iniquity or my signs or the message or what the Most High is trying to tell me is always immediately. He don't waste no time. Like, he don't give me no months, no years, or nothing to kind of figure it out, or to kind of like, come into this insightful concept or perspective of what he's saying. He tells me immediately. And that's because I've taken the time out to study how the Most High works with the people. I've taken the time out to build a personal relationship with the Most High. So I will always tell someone that's unseasoned is to kind of like study how the Most High deal with the people. Study how the Most High works, like regardless, period, in his own, in his own essence, you know. And like I was saying about, what's the last question? Because when you pose these questions, Chief, I was kind of confused. But now, now that I'm listening to everyone's perspective, it's kind of like giving me more insight on, it's giving me a broader insight on what the topic is really saying at hand.
Yeah, no,
So,
you mentioned it. The first one was just saying how the so many people saying, like you just said, who someone that's not the season, how do they determine, is it really of YAH what they're saying, or simply coming from the person that's saying it, that's claiming that it's YAH? How can you determine that? But you basically answered it right there. I didn't mean to cut your wisdom if you're still going though.
oh no, you fine. I was going to keep this nice, short and short and sweet. Um, it's a lot of self-proclaimed prophets out here as well.
Yeah.
So it's very it's very important. Alongside that, it's very tedious as well to kind of distinguish the difference between those self-proclaimed prophets versus those who genuinely can see, or could foresee something based on experience. based on experience and based on their studies on how the Most High work and how the Most High deal with the people. That's the best advice that I can give. Study how the Most High work, how the Most High deal with the people. It always seems as if once you start to build a relationship with the Most High, once you start to seek Him out, you kind of get this intuitive feeling of knowing what's right and what's wrong. I can't really explain it. It's like sometimes you don't even have to kind of like go into the Torah and study. It's just a natural pre-intuitive feeling that all right, Most High, all right, this is from Yah. This is what He's saying to me. Versus
Oh, she dropped. Chief, you still there? Chief Prince Abullah. I'll let you go ahead and
Okay, I'm here. I mean, yeah, I don't know if she maybe give a few seconds to tap back in, just in case if she's trying to.
I want me to throw some music in till she come back. Go ahead and bring the first song in till she come back. Oh, no.
Y'all funny.
Those that's tuning in right now, we got YAH Conscious. Make sure that you. There she goes. I was just about to try to put some filler words in.
Yeah.
There you go. You're back. You there?
Okay, I'm here. I don't know why I keep getting knocked off.
Yeah. All right. You were saying though you wanted to finish your wisdom. Did I? All right. Well, Chief, go ahead and let us know your thoughts on this first question if you can. Barakashah.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the scripts that I was thinking about earlier, Gavera Kathy had brought out, which is a very good look with Devarim 18, right? Deuteronomy 18 she brought out. But what I find interesting about this topic is that I think we oftentimes get lost in the verbiage of God is talking to me, God, because you got to really pay attention to what people are saying, and not what they're saying, but what they're not saying, because what they're not saying is what they're really saying. So you got to kind of like read behind what they're saying. So like, for instance, when you hear people say, well, the Most High spoke to me, you got to be prepared to stop them and say, okay, maybe, but be more specific. Like the sister Kathy said, was it something audible? Like, did you hear something? Did you see something? Did you see a burning bush? Or like, what do you mean by the Most High has spoke to you? And what I realized, just for Christians, but even this element of Christianity has spilled over into the Hebrew Israelite paradigm, because many of them have come out of the church, so therefore they're gonna bring their furniture into a new home. We realize that there is a distinction between the words of Yah, meaning the utterances the Most High speaking to you, versus something being Yah inspired. And I think what people are confusing God, and I'm just going to use the term loosely here, God talking to them. What they really mean to say is, I was God inspired, meaning based on the principles that we study. I think Vera Sharon brought it out, based on studying in the Torah, studying the words of the prophets, studying the wisdom books, and being in tune with that, with that spiritual paradigm. You can see the unfoldment of the Most High's will in practically anything in life. Think about how many times people have been God inspired or Yah inspired simply by sitting outside and watching the waves on a beach come crashing to the sand. a person look at that and say, wow. And if they're an artist, they'll, it might inspire them to go paint. If they're a poet, it might inspire them to write something. This is what many of us are talking about when we say, God has spoken to me. The Most High has inspired us through circumstances, through events in our lives, or whatever. But again, that's for the most part. But some people are actually very adamant when they say, no, I heard a voice spoke it. You say it spoke to me. It spoke to me in the in the King James language, and I mean you hear. I mean no, and I'm kind of joking. It's kind of tongue in cheek at this point, but it's real talk, because if you just pay attention to the timeline, there's a lot of people that are not just saying that God is speaking to them or the Most High is speaking to them. They're even attaching the name Nabi to their name. They're saying, I'm the prophet. I'm a prophet. So once you start saying that, now what you're doing is you're getting yourself back into that Deuteronomy 18 corner. And I think, again, Vera Kathy brought it out, but there's another script that I also want to bring out, because there's a loophole in Deuteronomy 18. Real quick, let's go back to Deuteronomy 18. I don't know. Does anybody have Deuteronomy 18 in front of them right now?
I can put it up on my phone.
Yeah. Deuteronomy 18, 20 and 22. That's the script that Vera Kathy was bringing out.
18.
Because there's a loophole.
22?
Yeah. Chapter 18, verses 20 through 22. But I'm sure 22 is the capping of it.
Cain,
Verse 20 says, but the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other powers, even that prophet shall die. And if thou say in thine heart, how shall we know the word which the Most High have not spoken? When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Most High, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Most High has not spoken, but the prophet have spoken. If presumptuously, thou shalt not be afraid of him.
Okay. Now, we're very familiar with that script. That's, that's Israelite bread and butter right there. You know what I'm saying? That's the precept that everybody goes to. But there's a loophole in that text. And a lot of us don't catch the loophole. The loophole is what it says. It says that if we were to say, well, how do we know if the word that is being uttered, if this is in fact of the Most High? It says what? That if the thing does not come to pass,
right,
then you know it is not of the Most High.
Right.
Loophole. Because the loophole there is, well, what if it does come to pass?
Boom.
Now, if it comes to pass, the logic says that if it doesn't come to pass, then that means, well, that person was not of the Most High. But what if it does come to pass? The logic would lead us to say, well, I guess maybe they are a prophet. Maybe they have been receiving, email messages between them and the Most High, whatever the case. Well, that loophole is kind of decimated by another sundry text in Deuteronomy. We're going to go to Deuteronomy 13, because Deuteronomy 13 actually addresses this, and I'm sure and of course there may be some question as to the chronology of the text, that maybe Deuteronomy 13 might have originally been composed after Deuteronomy 18, just for chronological purposes. But look at Deuteronomy 13, starting in verse 1. It's really 1 and 2. Look how it addresses the very thing that we're just speaking about.
Verse 1,
if there arise among you a prophet. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
If there arise among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and giveth thee a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder come to pass, whereof he spake unto thee, saying, let us go after other powers, which thou hast not known, and let us serve them. Verse 3, thou shalt not hearken unto the words of that prophet, or that dreamer or dreams of the Most High your power proveth you, to know whether ye love Most High your Elohim with all your heart and with your soul, all your soul. Oh yeah, I love that one.
Now, did
Oh,
you
you should
see
walk
how
I'm
you
sorry. Can you repeat that verse again? It was Deuteronomy what?
13 verses
chapter
1 through
13, verse
Okay.
1 through 3?
you could do
But you
4 through
see how the
4 and
loophole. Oh yeah, well you can go
yeah, that
even
kills,
40K. It's
that
but
kills that
but see,
loophole.
but this is where the this is where the loophole gets destroyed, because here it says that, even because what happens now, if it says that the dreamer of dreams or the prophet, whatever, rises up and they offer a sign on a wonder that does come to pass, but then in that sign coming to pass, they slip in saying, well, yeah, let us go after other powers which you have not known, and let us serve them. So even if the sign comes to pass, the Most High is instructing us, of course, through Moshe, that, okay, signs are nice, that's all cool. However, if the sign comes to pass, but what that prophet is telling you goes against the very core teachings that you know to be true, then those core teachings cancels out that sign or wonder that came to pass. So a lot of people, if you can catch it on Facebook, they'll say, oh, like they'll say something like, like about the war, like, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, in the next 2 years there's gonna be a war, like okay, all right, and then they'll be like, see, they're fighting over there. Well, yeah, but they've been fighting there every year for the past 300 years. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, so the signs and the wonders that may be offered, even if they do come to pass, the question is what that prophet about to utter out of his mouth, is it going to be in alignment with Yah's words that have previously been imparted to us? Because nobody that is of the Most High is going to give you something that directly goes against something that is ingrained in the scripts. So if I come along and say, hey, listen, I'm a prophet, and y'all say, oh, okay, Chief Prince, I hear you, show us a sign, and I show you some magical mystical sign, you're like, whoa, okay, yeah, maybe he's the truth. And I'm like, yeah, so now that I've shown you the sign, I want you to know that, yes, you know what I'm saying, that we are to worship the aliens on the planet Mukmuk in the Ilion galaxy somewhere. You're gonna be like, oh, what? You're like, oh, okay, the hell with your sign. You're out of your, you know what I'm saying, you're out of your damn mind. So what you're seeing again, is, on Facebook, what you're seeing on Twitter, and a lot of the people that are getting into these, I'm a prophet, I'm a seer, and the Most High has the, it's like, okay, but you got to ask them, well, how about if you're a prophet of the Most High, let's look at the track record of the prophets of the prophets of old. These prophets were very, very specific.
Yeah.
And their prophecies were not based on their own desires. Like, you never see Jeremiah saying, yeah, the Most High told me that I should go out and go get multiple wives and get a whole bunch of money. Like, everything that the Most High uttered to him was what? For the people.
Yeah.
Either to build the people up or to tell them that they're about to get jacked up. Same thing with Isaiah. Same thing with Habakkuk. Same thing with Yeshayahu. The same, all the way across the board.
All the way
There's
across
always
the
these,
board.
right? These men and women of Yah, when they said that the Most High uttered something to them, look at what they're saying. It's always about the people. It's about the people, uplifting them, showing them how to get back to their core power. And that core power is the Torah. The core power is the books of the prophets, the wisdom writings and things of that nature. They're not going to tell you something that's going to take you away from what you're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
So that, yeah, so yeah, I mean, that whole we got to make that distinction, and I think the most
Chief, they're not gonna take take you away from the people either. They're gonna try to keep you. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. You start seeing that, then you already know that. Yeah. Then you already know the type of individuals that you're dealing with. But like we always say, time is the great equalizer. Sometimes it only takes you just hear what they're saying, but watch the unfoldment of what they're saying. Because in time, you'll be able to see if what they're saying is really of the Most High. Because anything, again, it's just like courting, like dating or whatever like that. Anybody can convince you of something, in a relationship in the first 1 or 2 weeks. Everybody looks great in the first 2 weeks of of dating. But that long courting process, then you get to see what they're really about. And it's the same thing with a prophet. That's why it says, when it comes to pass, when this happens or that happens, there's a passage of time, and time is the great equalizer.
Okay. For those that's tuning in, welcome to YAH Conscience Radio. If it's not YAH Conscious, it is not acceptable. We are going to go ahead and go to the first song of this evening, and it is none other than Young Black Man by Yahushua. Just had it though. I lost it. Let me pull it up real quick. Give me 1 second. Should have had it on deck. There we go.
But they want us to kill ourselves. Yeah, the best way you can destroy a people, you take away their ability to reproduce themselves. Who is it that's dying out here on these streets every night? Y'all. Young brothers like yourselves.
What am I supposed to do? Fool roll up, try to smoke me? Shoot up for them if you don't kill me first.
You're doing exactly what they want you to do. You have to think, young brother, about your future.
Hey, young black man, it's hard on us just to be a man. You see the agenda, they pushing up on our people, trying to make us feminine. You have to get in the head of some of our women. I need a black man, make them independent. But I need a black queen who need a black king. If not the ones gonna be hurt, it's the children. It seems like the whole was against us. They want to see us behind the fences. To promote things that are good as quicker. Drugs and violence that paint us like a menace. Yeah, I know it sounds silly, but you a white man can do the same crime. You will get the longest sentence. You already born with one strike against you. So with the Heisman, you gotta move different. Yeah, hey, young black man, and more on us just to be a man. But one thing that you gotta understand, be a real one, no matter circumstance. For what's right, I will take a stand. Ball up your fist and raise your right hand. Hey, and be all you can. Yeah, and stay in God's plan. Young black man. Young black man, 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 be all you can. Young black man, 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 stay in y'all's plan.
You and I have been dehumanized, we got no status. We just get brutalized, treated the worst, under a curse. Thought about murder, thought about suicide, talking to YAH, hit to the sky. We just need you to guide, we do what you decide. I met my brother, I met my sister, telling them we become stronger when unified. We gotta stand up and fight for our own. We gotta place ourselves back on the throne. We gotta teach the youngest what is right. Everything they see in this what is wrong. I'm sending a message. My sister, you precious. My brother, you wealthy. It's really your essence. Just wanna live life. Just wanna find peace. I done been too close to death and depression. Like, oh yeah, my YAH, deliver us out of this fire. So die, my YAH, lift me up, take me up higher. I make a vow today to walk in your path and bow down to no man. Now that I know what, now that I know how, I vow to stay in your plan. Young black,
hey, young brother of color, two different mothers, but we're of the same skin. And they crucify us, we all messiahs, and we all guilty of the same sin. They pulling us over for DWB. It's dropping while black, please don't move in your vehicle. They pull a toast to you praying, the heat miss you camera go off. As soon as that heat hit you, tell me what's the issue. They brought us here and act like we owe them something. Man, is you tripping? Children and women keep coming to miss it. Keep your head on the swivel, pay attention. Everybody against us, nobody love us, nobody cares. They pay more attention to homosexuals and make sure the animals get treated fair. But guess what? We rely on the Most High. What the Torah, everything gonna be gravy. And we gotta have each other back, show love to our brothers and our ladies. Anak nu akad, mize anak nu. Zeba, Beya, Nasliak, show me ma, I need Omer Lakar. Hey, young black man, and more on us just to be a man. But one thing that you gotta understand, be a real one, no matter circumstance. For what's right, I will take a stand. Ball
let your fist and raise your right hand. Hey, and be all you can. Yeah, and stay in y'all's plan. Young black man, 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 young black man. Be all you can. Young black man, 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 young black man. Stay in y'all's plan.
They want to see us die, they don't want to see us grow. They want to keep you high, which will bring you down low. Going on heroin, weed and pills. Super overdose that'll leave you killed. Sipping on lean until you lean off in a coma. Enough time for the reaper to creep up on you. Now you gone for your family. Pneumonia, and the hurt kick real hard, just like Sonya. Laid up in your chest, the most high release stress. The Torah be your vest, the full armor protects the rest. And I give all praise to the Most High. And I love my people cause I know that we are
blessed. We're blessed we are. We're blessed in ways them could and never stop we now. Oh no, time will show. They got to let us go, prophecy must fulfill, I know. All the trials and tribulations we're facing. Rejection and abuse, hatred and racial profiling. Systematical illusions, mortal confusion. Wayward serpents of destruction, feeding and confusion. Babylon belongs to Satan, the harlot and the beast. Them demonic structure, palm with blood, them all a feast. But the time go come, rise up David the rod, out of Babylon, Panjan like we are trod. Yeah, you know, it's just part of the book, you know. If you open up the eye of the inner heart, you will see. Just take a deeper look. We're blessed beyond measure. Yeah, man. Nothing can stop we. Nothing at all. In the Most High's eyes, we are spiritual treasure.
Young black man, young black man, young black man. The way the world view you, you gotta be better than. Young black man, young black man, young black man. Put your mind to it, be all you can. Young black man, young black man, young black man. They're more than life than hate where you stand. Young black man, young black man, young black man. Be proud of the skin you are in. Hey, and know you're a lion, and be so defiant, to hide the defining you, and be self-reliant. For our women and our children be reliant. Come together, stop dividing. We way more stronger united. Our praises to the highest. Young black man, young black man, young black man. Young black man, young black man, young black man. Young black man, young black man, young black man. Young black man, young black man. Hey, young black man, the hard on us just to be a man. One thing that you gotta understand, be a real one no matter circumstance. Do what's right, I will take a stand. Ball up your fist and raise your right hand. And be all you can. And stay in your plan, young black man.
All right, man. I know that was a long song, but I had to play it. Got to represent our so-called black people. You know, same with people of Israel. So I had to play it, you know.
That's how long
I was just about to say
how long
that.
the songs were in my days.
I was just about to say that. That's how long the songs used to be back in the day. About 5, 6, 7 minutes, man.
Yeah, gave you something to think about.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now we got 3-minute songs, man. You know, we done went down.
3 minutes is long now. We're like, yo, a minute and 45 seconds. You be like, really, dude? Really? That's all you can come up with?
Yeah. All right. Those that's tuning in, welcome back to YAH Conscious Radio. YAH Conscious. It's not acceptable. That was Yehudi Gang. You know, we got Benaya here, right here. Aquanaya. You know what I'm saying? Yehusadak. I think Maccabee was on there as well. Tune April 2nd, you all. Brew Your Bash. Haven't promoted it in a while, but make sure you come to Fort Worth, Texas. 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll make sure I share a flyer either sometime this show or the upcoming one because we got some promos that I could show too. But it's going down. Make sure you're there. All right. Next topic of this evening, and it is: how do you determine the right move to make in an uncommon situation? If this situation is affecting your chance for righteous growth, but from the outside looking in, it looks unrighteous, what move do you make? So in other words, so it's saying, how do you determine the right move to make in an uncommon situation? So this situation is not normal. Like, this is the type of situation that in our Tanakh days, they had to go to the judges and be like, okay, we ain't never dealt with this. How do we move? You know, like with the sticks situation with the sticks. You know what I'm saying? So it's uncommon, right? And if this situation is affecting your chance for righteous growth, but from the outside looking in, it looks unrighteous, what do you do? So you know that this uncommon situation is putting you in a situation where it's affecting righteous growth on whatever levels you all could think of, you know, whether it's dealing with a family, whether it's dealing with, you know, trying to go down the right path, whether it's dealing with anything. But from the outside looking in, from those that's looking at it, it seems unrighteous. Maybe whether because they might not have the full story, whether because it just, you know, the way that it's perceived is just there. What do you do? What do you do if you're in that situation? That's the question. I want to go ahead and kick it off with our coach Sharon. Kick it off with you. What do you do in this situation right here? A situation is uncommon, not used to, and it's affecting your chance to go down the righteous path. But
Well, that's
go ahead.
that's that's answering a question in itself. That whatever I feel that is affecting me in my righteous path, um, honestly, uh, this is very personal to me. This question was very personal, being that I'm currently going through a separation from my husband. Um, because I we just have a lot of uncommon activities that goes on in our marriage. Not to get too in depth, but what I would do, I wouldn't even, well, I wouldn't even consult with no elders, because sometimes the elders can kind of like prohibit you from moving forward. Um, I gotta keep it real with that. Sometimes the elders just, they just, wow, I don't know how to answer this without getting too personal. Wow.
Well, think on it for a minute. You know what I'm saying? We
Yes,
don't
let
want
me think on this,
to,
because
we don't
this really hit
yeah,
home, and this is
yeah.
why I appreciate the call, because um it's yeah, this really hit home for me.
All right, so just take your time on it, you know, think on it, see if you even want to bring it out or not. I would say just, you know, we're gonna go pass it on to the other panelists, come back to you, let it, you know. Well, I saw a video of a guy, what's his name, Country Wayne. He be like, let it sizzle in your spirit or something like that. I don't know, you
Yeah,
know.
you gotta let it
You
sizzle
gotta
in your
let it
spirit.
marinate. You gotta let it
Yeah,
marinate.
you know, because what I love about, even though you brought this, I wasn't aware of it. I pray that the Most High does what the Most High has to do. Um, but I will say, I think it was Gebeta Kathy earlier. I think it was you, Gebeta Kathy. Oh, it was Chief Prince Zabulam, when it says that, you know, like your situation is a personal situation, and it might be, you know, something pertaining to what you all might have to, you know, do to figure that out. But I wouldn't. It would on a large scale. I would say that, you know, I believe, and I think you said this before as well. So that's why I said I feel like it's the personal side, right? But um, I think we're in our community is going down a certain direction due to the lack of wanting to go to elders now. But I feel like I know where you're coming from when you say what you say. But I you know, like I said, just let it sizzle for a minute, and then we'll come right back to you.
And I, I can answer it. I can answer it. My
Okay.
comment about the elders is that sometimes, um, sometimes, and I'm not going to say all elders, but some elders, they all for black households. They all for the gathering of black marriages, and keeping it together and things like that. So sometimes they do bypass the reality of what of what a situation is going through. And this is what I witnessed for a fact. Secondly, the best way to move in an uncommon situation, you have to gather all your receipts. What I mean is gather all your evidence, inquire diligently on what just inquire diligently on what you want to bring forth, so people can be aware of what may seem unrighteous on the outside. People, sleeker.
All right.
Wait a minute, that was a call coming through. Sometimes you just gotta make the move. Like if it's prohibiting your growth for righteousness, you just don't consult with nobody. Just make the move, because I'm sure that the Almighty don't want you to dwell in unrighteousness. What move do you make? I'm gonna let this marinate. I'm gonna let it marinate.
Yeah. The what move do you make was just kind of basically, what decision do you make? Stay, go. I think that's the right question. Let me go back to it.
We used to always have trials in our congregation in B'nai Zakren. We used to always have meetings, and we used to always have trials. Meaning, we used to bring, like how people, bring situations and bring matters to the judges. So the judges can weigh, okay, this is going to be the final decision of the situation.
And that's an issue with today. We don't really have them like that. I mean, we have them in certain camps, but it's just not on a large scale.
Yeah, but it's not on a large scale. We don't have trials like we used to. Absolutely not. It's a lot of it's a lot of respective people going on as well. Respective persons, I'll put it that way.
Okay. Want to go ahead and pass it? Are you done with your wisdom right there?
Okay, just for the time being.
Okay. We're gonna come back around if we need be. Chief Prince Abullah, go ahead, pass the mic to you. Then get better Kathy, then myself. And then if we all need to have anything else to say, we'll jump back in. You there, Chief? There you go.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I was just had to readjust microphone and stuff. Yeah. I'm not. I was, the topic, the example that was just given, I can't say yay because that's a personal anecdotal situation. So I'm gonna deliberately not, land back off that because again that's a personal lane. But I will say, like when we spoke about earlier about dealing with wisdom and trying to gather as much intel that we can from outside sources without even giving the specific details of your situation. It could just be a generalized, an anonymous situation, but just getting outside sources who don't have an axe to grind with you, who doesn't have any dogs in the race or dogs in the fight with your situation, because oftentimes we make the moves, and I know where this, I've definitely had my share of these in my younger years. When we make moves based on our understanding, we assume that we in fact know what is best for us, and we learned that that's not the case. Especially remember we were children, 13, 14, 15, and we would say to our parents like, oh, I know what I'm doing, and then you come to find out years later you become an adult, you're like, I had no flipping clue what I was doing. I did not know. But when we're younger, we think we know because we're in our head and we don't have the outside, and I'm not saying anybody is a reliable source to get information from, but you have to be, you have to choose wisely, people that you see that have moved, in respectable ways or whatever, and you consult with them. You don't even have to get personal. You can just be like, hey, listen, here's a scenario. I want to run something by you. just to get their idea, just to get their feeling on a situation. And then afterwards, you still may not necessarily go with what their recommendation is, but it's just so that you have this wealth of information so that now when you do move on a situation, you have no regrets after the fact, because you can say, well, I looked into this, I looked into that, I looked into this, that, and based on this is my decision to move forward. And after you make that move, you can do it with a clear conscience, because now you can't look back and say, oh man, I should have listened to Kathy, or I should have listened to, like, no, I consulted everything, and now I can make an informed decision. So I just think it's important to get outside sources, but I think we have to be prudent with those sources that we do get, because not everybody is going to give you sound advice or sound direction in situations, especially in situations that are based on your growth and righteousness. If you're trying to make moves so that you can express more righteousness as your life goes forward, you have to be very careful who you get this information from. But I just don't think I don't think it ends with us. One of my biggest gripes with 5%ers back in the days when I used to debate them or whatever, is that they had a saying, the letter S stands for self-savior in their alphabet. You're like, yeah, the letter S, it means self-savior. And you'd be like, okay, well, what is that born? What does that mean? And they'd be like, self-savior means that, what I'm saying, it means that I have the power to save self because my understanding is the best understanding. And you're like, I mean, when you 14, 15, 16, that sounds great. That sounds real swift. You're like, oh yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah.
But time and experience, you'll be like, nah, that's nah. I need a little bit more information, more intel before I can make a decision. But again, that's just general. Everybody has their anecdotal situation, so I can't speak on anecdotal. I can only just say, well, generally speaking, this might be a prudent way to move on a situation.
Okay. Appreciate that, Chief Prince of the Line. Pass the mic to Better Kathy. What you got? Want me to read it over, or you got it?
No, I actually have it, and I'm on the same lines as my sister. That is very personal, and I'm going to speak on why it's personal for me, because as you all know, or people that don't know, I'm new to the understanding. My husband has been, in the understanding for many years. I'm under him. He's teaching me along with my panel and my other elders. But I was faced with conflict when I came into this knowledge and people in my family started passing away. From my cousins to my fathers to my aunties. And as I spoke of earlier today, my brother, is in the wing. For whatever reason, our Black families that don't have the understanding love to have services on Sabbath. So I had to make a stand early on that I'm not going to be there. And I'm like, if y'all really and truly care anything about me and you want me there, try to have these services on first day. And for what I've gathered in burying my mother, it's actually cheaper because everybody's, for whatever reason, is rushing to do it on Sabbath. But that was one of the most difficult things that I had to encounter, along with the holidays that they were used to me showing up for. And there was just a point that I had to take a stance. And I got a lot of attitude. I got a lot of backlash. But with my sister Sharon and her sister and my sister Yakoba, again, just let's look at the word. What are you going to benefit from this, from going? No, they may not understand. Yes, this may hurt because this is what you are used to. But this is your road, as we just saw, or fork, to this path here. How many times are you going to allow them to jerk your emotions and get you back? And as we discussed on many platforms before, let's talk about, let's reference really quickly on, which I was brought up in the Christian understanding, where they jerk upon your emotions. So I felt a really big guilt trip about not going home and seeing people put in the ground and seeing relatives that I haven't seen for years and all of this. But then I had to realize, how does this fit in my path? And even sadly to say, these people that say they love me, how much do they love and respect me that you can't do one thing? Push a barrier out to the first day. Let's not do things typically gathering on Thanksgiving or whatever on the normal days. Why can't that be done? So it does hit personal, but I'm content more with that decision now in my life, with the understanding, again, with the help of my sister Sharon and her sister Yakoba, that sometimes you got to leave your emotions on the sideline. Emotions ain't going to help you get where you got to get. And that's what I was dealing with from a Christian basis, was the emotions. What are people going to think? You ain't go to your father's funeral. What type of child are you? But there's a bigger picture for me than my father's death. My father is deceased. My life still carries on. And I'm going to do the best that I can do to do what is right in the Most High sight. So that's where it hits. That's my opinion on it. And it does hit home for me.
Also, Kathy, I'm sitting here thinking, like, we do have to leave our emotions to the side, but also when we make the right decision and the right move for us, we also have to not care about the emotions of others, especially if it's luring us down the unrighteous path. If it looks unrighteous on the outside and the person say, oh, it looks unrighteous on the outside, it must be unrighteous in the inside. So if I make this move, don't judge me because, don't judge me because I'm making the necessary steps to kind of like position myself more into a righteous path. Also, people need to inquire diligently. Them outsiders, if it looks unrighteous, prove yourself. Prove yourself to your own word that it looks unrighteous. If it looks unrighteous, also inquire diligently so you can prove that it is unrighteous. Because if it looks unrighteous on the outside, if I make a move and it looks unrighteous on the outside, oh well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. But inquire diligently on why I'm making this move for the betterment of myself and the betterment of to be more righteous and to live more of a righteous life. A lot of people look on the outside and really don't know what goes on the inside. They have these perceptions of what goes on, but we had to really start inquiring diligently on matters, no matter how it may look, But that's all.
Kane, but you gave me the strength to fire back on that. And that's exactly what I presented to the family. Well, show me, even if it's in your own understanding, where am I wrong? You understand what I'm saying? I'm not going to debate with you about how I feel and where I can show you where I'm right. Show me where I am wrong.
Exactly.
So, again, Kane, you definitely showed me that, and that is my go-to. I don't have time for the argument. If you have an argument, family or whomever, point out your argument and let's discuss that, especially in the Torah. But other than that, let's going back and forth about how you feel, that's irrelevant. So, Kane, yes, and you are correct, and I'm greatly appreciative.
This is why trials are important too, because you have both opponents at the table bringing both evidence at the table, to distinguish, okay, this is her argument, this is his argument, or it put relationships out of it. Let's not even talk about relationships. Just let's talk about like just simple matters of what goes on in the community. This is why trials are important, because you have to You have to bring in some fruit and some meat to the table, so the judges can kind of like distinguish. All right, yeah, this is right. Yeah, this wrong. To kind of like dissect the situations. At the most high capacity that it needs to be dissected.
You know what? I want to jump in right now, and I want to say this. May the Most High do what needs to be done to restore both parties in the peace and the direction of righteousness with the Most High. Yeah. But what you just said right there was a big point I think everybody needs to understand on all across the whole board of any topic, any situation. Balance. I always talk about balance. And the scripture says, if I'm not mistaken, that a false balance is a what? An abomination to the Most High. Yeah.
Abomination to the Most High.
Abomination. So that's why it's so important, man. We need this bait day. Oh my goodness. We need that. What you talked about, Achot, with the judges. We need righteous judges, men and women, whatever. But we need righteous judges so we could facilitate all these type of situations for the betterment of our reputation as our reputation as Israel, and also just to have more successful, not even marriages, just everything across the board, being successful across the board. So I really don't got a lot, but I will still respond to the question. How do you determine the right move? And I always reread it just so I can, in my mind, so if y'all like, you wrote it while you're rereading it, I just got to. How do you determine the right move? And Chief Presenter, I know I do that often. I read. How do you determine the right move to make an uncommon situation? I want to stop there. If the situation is affecting your choice for righteous growth, but from the outside looking in. Okay, so we don't have judges, as she brought out, and we all know and we agree with, we don't have that type of judge. So what's interesting is by us not doing that, all we can do is just go off of our, and this is for any situation, not for her situation, but for any situation. All we can do is look at the skeleton, and that's the Torah, the Tanakh, look at the situations, see how it can apply to our time today. I love the conversation me and Chief Prince Zebulon always talk about when we talked about Ecclesiastes or Proverbs, and we'd be like, man, powerful. I mean, it wasn't Torah, but it was powerful because he was speaking on things pertaining to the matters and the times then, but it can relate to all of them then. Then you went to Sirach, and I'm just piggybacking off the conversation me and Chief Prince Zebulon brought out with me when he was talking with me, and I'm like, wow, it's amazing, because I was talking about the books that I'm writing, and and the books that he's written, and he brought to me, and I'll just share with you, and I'll get back on topic. Chief done wrote 16, 15, 16 books, and historian. I'm like, man, I want to be like that one day, have that type of historian knowledge. And he'll say to me, you're there, and I look at him like, I'm not. I'm not there, what I'm saying? But he explained, he just, it's like you have Sirach came in expounding on what it was that, Shlomo put forth, but speaking on the times then you have, you all heard us speak on this, like the Mishnah, and then you got 2022 people like Chief Prince Zebulon, and, hopefully one day myself, bringing out things that can rectify situations as to what we're talking about now. We need the judges. We need that stuff. But we need people that, if we don't have those judges, that can put literature together and can implement within communities these matters in what we're talking about. So the uncommon situation right here that I'm speaking of is things that's not even in the Torah. That's like, oh, this is not here. When you think of David, when those two women came with the baby, that wasn't in Torah. He had to look at the matter at hand, see what the heck he was going to do. Okay, let me do this. Okay, this is going to tell me which is the real mother. That mother go say, give it away if I cut him in half. So since we don't have judges, we need men and women alike that can look at our current situation and look at these matters that's happening now and figure it out. But we also need people to trust those people. So the uncommon situation, that's the best way, in my opinion. If this situation is affecting your chance for righteous growth, I gotta tread lightly on it. I want to agree with Chief Prince Abulan on this. Hit all the avenues you can. Only the trustworthy ones. In my covenant contractual agreement that I have for my future Ishai, if I ever get one, I literally said if we come to a point where it's like really bad or whatever, we need to only deal with people that want the success of both of us. Meaning, don't be a yes man to me. Don't be a yes man to her. Let's bring it and let's do it way out. Exhaust everything we can first and exhaust it with the people that will tell both of us how it is not being a yes man. At that point, then we go that route. I brought that up right there to say, if it's affecting us righteously, we might have to after that. Now, again, I'm not saying this towards your situation. I can show you my covenant contractual agreement. You'll see that I literally said that in there. But that's the advice that I would give. Righteous growth is important. It's very important. I believe that Tanakh-wise, and both of you could correct me if I'm wrong. I know you both been in it longer than me. I have a level of understanding and study. I think I am qualified with this, but I will always bow down to those that are beyond me if it's righteous, right? We talk about righteous if it's righteous and sound. I do know that the Most High would not want, and correct me, like I said, either one of us, man or woman, to be in something that is going against him. And I'm talking about serving other deities, going against the law, statute, laws, and commandments of the Most High. I know that to be true. Even if I was to go to the Hadashah New Testament, I think it talks about a whole believer. If this believer, if you're with a non-believer and this believer doesn't basically steer you away from it, then you're kind of safe. My point of bringing that out and all is the simple fact that righteousness is so important that if someone is steering you away from righteousness, then exhaust out all the things you can exhaust out first, but ultimately you can't stay with something that is causing you to be unrighteous. That's my opinion. It's not a fact. I'm not even saying it's law. I do always say eldership is important. But then in the new, when I brought out the new, we saw that this person wasn't pulling this woman, I think it was talking about the woman at first as a subject, away from the righteousness of serving the Most High. I would say the Most High. I ain't talking about, because I don't know, that's another doctrine. I ain't gonna get into that. My point is righteous growth is very important. And if the outside is looking in and it looks unrighteous, I'm on the same wavelength as Akho Sharon, but then I had a matter to where I'll talk to Chief Zebulon, and he brought something out to me as far as like my situation, the things that the Most High has me doing, and for future tense, I just got to tread a little lightly when it comes to, because I was on I'm big on receipts. As Chief Prince, I'm always big on receipts.
We all should be. Yeah,
I got the receipts. If somebody say something, well, what do you say? Well, I got this right here. But one of the things that was shared to me, and I had to sit down and meditate on it, is that even though I have that, by that perception, which it sucks because we're in this internet age and all this stuff, it can affect you if you are an individual like myself, where I plan to continue to grow in and to become, to where it can affect me or people dealing with me just off perception. And that's what sucks, because guess what? By them doing that, they're going against the law by itself, because they're not, like you had said, finding out everything. You know what I'm saying? But I have to take in consideration that other side as well. So I'm talking about me right now. That's anecdotal. I'm not saying that's how it should be across the board. I'm just talking about myself because of the things that I plan on doing with the community and what I am doing. So I have to be a little more careful. But outside of that, great thoughts and great suggestions and advice given to the people that's listening. I'll close out by saying, it is a lot of uncommon situations that we're going to face. Always revert back to the Torah. That's all I can say. Look at the examples like Sharon said on the previous topic. Look at the consistency of the matters that you might be going through, and see if you can pinpoint that throughout our culture and the scriptures, and then take what you can to thrive and be righteous or whatever it is. So what move do you make? The move that I say you will have to make is after all the things are exhausted, go into prayer, meditate, and then ask the Most High to show you. Me, I cast lots on something so great like that.
You know what, Chief? I was going to ask a similar question. Like, even if you consult with some righteous judges or the most people who have, the most smart or intellectual people, and they can't figure out what to do in an uncommon situation, what about casting lots to get an approval or to get some insight on what move to make, or just to get an approval of, should I make this move or should I not make this move? How effective is casting lots all these days, without people in this community? That's a different topic,
No, I can say something to it real quick. Chief knows this, and I think you might know it, maybe perhaps. I'm all for it. I let that be one of the last things I do. Like, if I can't figure, man, look, and then I pray hard on it. We see that that was part of our culture. I pray hard on it, and then I cast lots, and I ask the Most High, like, the answer is already from you. I'm just using this to, help assist, and whatever the answer is, I'm going with it, even if I don't even like it. That's just how I roll with the casting of the lots. All right. So that closes out this second one. We're going to go to the next song. Did anyone have anything to say before we go to the next song at all? We good? All right. So the next song is Shamar, and it is featuring more Ethan and Maccabee. Hey, if y'all have any other songs that y'all want to share, please email us at YAH Conscience Radio at gmail.com if you want me to start playing different songs that you might have, and we could throw that in the mix. Here we go.
Kane, I will. I would like to play some of my brother's songs.
Let's get it.
Yep. No time.
Y'all cover me. I do what I know. I plant the seed. I pray that they grow. I give you soul. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me. I know what you do. Just know the Father will continue showing you where you should go. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me. I do what I know. I plant the seed. I pray that they grow. I give you soul. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me. I know what you do. Just know the Father will continue showing you where you should go. I do what I gotta do. I find my purpose, but some still don't have to. Pull up in the lies, ignoring the wise. Like it ain't no homage to you. Gon' pay for it, I promise you. Segula, honest Segula. The Jews, Yahuwah, pulled out of the sewer. I used the power of me, not the moolah. Got fooled into thinking I wasn't a ruler, but that's in my vein. Rocking the gold, rocking the chains. I'm blocking the foes and dodging the fade. And stuck to the code, watching who changed. They calling me strange, but this how it look when you out of the cage. Living my life, but I value my days. Praying my people jump out of the maze. Forgot about the work, but they call it on grace. If that ain't the issue, then I need a clue. Cause we in need of help and don't know what to do. I know many get called, but the chosen of few. You stay praying for me and I'm praying for you. Oh, I do what I know. I plant the seed. I pray that they grow for you. Value your soul. The way that we live in is out of control. We need a covering, Lord. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me. I do what I know. I plant the seed. I pray that they grow. Value your soul. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me. I know what you got to. Just know the Father will continue showing you where you should go. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me. I do what I know. I plant the seed. I pray that it grows. By your soul. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me. I know what you got to. Just know the Father will continue showing you where you should go.
He cover me, like a blanket of snow on the grass in the wintertime. Okay. I hear him calling like you hear your mama hollering down the street when it's dinner time. Headed straight towards the finish line, so I practice Torah with my spirit mind. I ain't got no worries, never in a hurry, waiting patiently. I've been in line. Yes. Yabareka, Yahuwah, Wayish Mereka, Yair, Yahuwah Panau, Eleka, Wayahuneka. Yahuwah bless you and guard you, and make his face shine upon you, and show you favor you ain't never known. You show mirror, Hatorah, Anak, new.
Your word is a lamp to my feet, a light to my path. Ain't no task gotta reach. I've been feeling like the last, I've been feeling like the least. I've been thinking about the past when I'm praying to the east, trying to stay fast, knowing that the fast won't cease. A sign and a wonder, behind or up under, pain and the hunger, the rain and the thunder. They make it so hard just to stand and recover, but Mac enduring to the end. Right now you witnessing the beginning of me in recovery. I went searching deep within, a diamond, a gem, Segula is under discovery. I was hateful way back when, and my soul full of peace when I see my people. I'm a brotherly, Elohim, be my strength, move away the unfit. To your ways I submit, just cover me, cover me. Y'all cover me, y'all cover me. I do what I know, I plant the seed, I pray that it grows. By your seed, y'all cover me, y'all cover me. I know what you got, just know the Father will continue showing you where you should go. Y'all cover me. Cover me. I do what I know. I plant the seed. I pray that it grows. By your soul. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me. I know what you got to. Just know the Father will continue showing you where you should go.
I walk with y'all like an umbrella, a cover, interchangeable like clouds in the fire. Pick me up, Yahuwah, take me higher. Watch me soar like a bird, I'm your top flyer. I tried to do it by myself before making mistake after mistake, over and over. Couldn't think straight, I never was sober, but I had to wise up as I got older. Had to stop doing the things I was doing and lean on my Abba like Bill Willis. When I am not strong and I need a friend, I depend on the love that he gives. Been shot at before, but the bullets missed me. And when I was the shooter, the gun jammed. Laws ran up in my dope spot, but I had just sold everything that I had. Right my forehead like who I made it, but he said it was me the whole time. Told I Rabbi, Yahuwah Elohim for keeping me when I was out of line. Keep me safe in your arms, Abba, and cover me just like a flower bed. And rain on me with your ruach so I can grow and keep your Torah inside my head, cause I know. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me.
I do what I know. I plant the seed. I pray that it grows. By your soul. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me. I know what you got to. Just know the Father will continue showing you where you should go. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me. I do what I know. I plant the seed. I pray that it grows. By your soul. Y'all cover me. Y'all cover me. I know what you got to. Just know the Father will continue showing you where you should go.
Boy. Hey man, those are two of one of my favorite hip hop artists up in this truth, man. I'm just saying. Y'all might hear me play them sometimes. Bias. So please, YAH Sharon and anyone else, throw some more music my way. And I be asking people too. I've stopped, but I used to ask all the time, hey, Yisrael, send them some music, man. I only got so much music. You know, somebody who plays a lot of music that's really good with the music he has, Chief Uziel. I must have saw him on a live one day, and he just playing some good Hebrew music, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Chief be getting it in.
He's from my generation, so he probably has a lot of the stuff that I have in on my hard drive as well. A lot of the old
Sorry, I think I'm in twice. Sorry.
Oh, you good?
All right.
You good? Chief, what you gotta send my way, man? Send me some more songs so I could, mix it up for us. Cause I know people probably getting bored.
I am. I'm gonna send you some songs for my little brother.
All right.
I do, I do have a lot of sample songs from a lot of people. I don't know if you mind. I don't know if you will mind playing some of my ABBA songs as well.
If it's dealing with what we talking about, dealing with the, the most high,
Yes.
and all that. Of course, this is YAH Conscious Radio.
Dang,
That's
I
Them
got you. I got you.
Them drums, Sharon. The drums.
Oh, and I'm gonna wait till the show is over, but I gotta. I had a surreal moment this week. I didn't know who was hosting the Hebrew Bash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to talk about that, Chief.
I don't know what that means, but we hosting it, right? I'm hosting it with them.
hosting or the Aki Daz hosting?
Aki who?
You had tagged Daz in your post. I seen it.
I don't even know who Daz is. Who is Daz? We'll talk about it.
Oh, well, you tagged him in your post. So, yeah. I'll show you.
All righty. Let's go to the next one because I don't know who Daz is. All right. The last one is, what is more important? Man, these were some interesting topics, man. I don't know what. Well, actually, I do know what got into me to put these, but what is more important? Obedience to authority that is over you with certain methodologies that are affecting you spiritually, mentally, and even physically in a negative way, or disobedience, in parentheses, that may or may not allow you to thrive in the areas that YAH has created you for. So the second part, I'm going to go through both real quick. So the first part, what is more important? Obedience to authority that is over you with certain methodologies that are affecting you spiritually, mentally, and even physically in a negative way. Or disobedience, meaning you become disobedient, quotations, that may or may not allow you to thrive in the areas that YAH has created you for. Man or woman, the reason I said may or may not, because the disobedience that you might do, meaning disobedient to what they have placed or gave you or told you to do, you might feel you need to go this direction because it's affecting you. And it may allow you to thrive. And then again, it might not allow you to thrive in that particular moment. Down the line, you may, but at that particular moment, you may not thrive. So, which one is more important? Did that make sense? Should I clear it up, or was that clear enough?
Lord, this phone.
We got to give you a stand.
The first part it made sense. It did make sense.
So the second one is maybe I worded it too. It's very. The second one, really quick, I'm saying one more time. So the second one is more so dealing with it's kind of with the second. It's kind of with the second question. It's kind of like you making this move for your growth, or whatever it might be, but it's going to be looked at as you're being disobedient to this authority. That's what it's going to be looked at, right? So this disobedience, this move that you're making, might help you to thrive, or it might not initially. You know what I'm saying? So which one is more important for you, to stick under that authority that is causing you to have a, just physically, spiritually, all that mess up, or to make that disobedient move, huh?
Being disobedient too.
This is a broad scope, but it's more so dealing with these questions are more so dealing within our community. So whoever is looked at as an authority figure, whether it's your congregational leader, whether it's your Abba, whatever, so this is a touchy, I didn't know that your situation came.
You're freezing. I don't know if it's on my end.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm freezing. I didn't know. Y'all can hear me? Can you hear me?
It's an echo. I'm not in here twice.
Can y'all hear me?
Okay, we can hear you, but I can hear you. It's an echo, though.
I just kicked yours off, your other one off, so hopefully you can hear now better. Better, Kathy, you're froze now. Is she froze to you all too, or is it just me?
Yeah, she froze.
No, she's frozen.
Kathy, you may have to go out, come back in.
All right, so
the first part makes a lot of sense to me.
So
and that's more important.
The second part isn't. Well, the second part is important too because it matches the first. The reason it matches the first is because
it is one and the same.
It's because is it more important for you to stay there when it's affecting you, or is it more important for you to leave? That's basically what I'm saying. Is it more important for you to stay there during the methodologies that are affecting you, or more important for you to leave? Now, when you leave, it's looked at as disobedient.
Okay,
So
that's not how I had interpreted the questions, but
disobey what it is that has been given to you. That's basically what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I'm going to pass the mic. We're going to flip it again. Start with a better Kathy. We're going to flip it again. Did you get the question?
I was going to say, I don't know if y'all noticed, I broke out a little bit.
No, we did. We saw you leave and you came in. Did you understand the question or no?
I believe I do. Give me 1 second just to go over just to make sure. I don't want to have to repeat yourself.
It's going slow. I could just go.
I see. I thought it was just me.
No, it's very slow. It's just saying, so what is more important? Obedience to authority that is over you with certain methodologies or certain teachings or methods that are affecting you spiritually, mentally, or even physically in a negative way? Or is it better to be disobedient to that, even though it may or may not allow you to thrive? So your decision may allow you to thrive, or it may not allow you to thrive in the areas that YAH has created you for. Now, go ahead.
Who is that on?
It's on you, Cabarrett.
Yeah, it's your turn. Then I'm gonna go.
For me, if it's disobedient, number one with the law, then hands down, I shouldn't even be.
I didn't say law. I didn't say law.
Okay, you didn't. But
I said obedience to authority that is over you with certain methodologies that are affecting you spiritually, mentally.
So before I let out, I was like, who is the authority? Or who is the authority are we speaking? Are we authority in our relationships, our marriage? Are we talking about the Most High? What authoritative are you?
It's not the Most High. It's whatever. It's whoever's has authority over you. Like if you get pulled over by the cop, they basically got authority over you. But as far as this, we're just talking about because we're keep it within our community. So whether it is a leader that's over you, whether it is, what else did I say? Even your Abba that's over you. Whatever. But I'm saying, like, go ahead.
But Chief, that's a double-edged sword because based on a person's knowledge base, they have no other. They have at that point, some people have no other resource other than that elder or whomever they're speaking to, and they're getting this knowledge from. They don't have this other person and this other person or community to compare what is being explained to them to deem whether it's right or it's wrong. So you have that end of the sword. Then you have the other end of the sword where you have people that are knowledgeable. Okay. And when you are knowledgeable and you have someone, an elder or whomever speaking that, go outside of, again, your knowledge, your understanding. And again, in regards to the Torah, I know we weren't specifically referencing that, but I'm trying to give an example of somebody that's knowledgeable. You're not going to be easily, I would hope you wouldn't be easily as influenced. And your decision would be, at the end of the day, I'm going to do what's right in the hindsight of the Most High. And even me not having all of the understanding that there is, I don't want to upset the Most High. I want to do what's right. I want to make every effort to do what is right. And I'm sorry if it disappoints certain people, or I lose certain people that deem their friends, or I was a part of a certain clique. That's fine. I consider myself an onion. I'd rather peel back all of those layers of things that I don't need to get to the core of what I need. I don't need all of that other superficial stuff around me. So, I mean, that's kind of like my response on it. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword for me. But I'm definitely going to always try to do what's right. And like my sister Sharon earlier said, you feel it. You know when something's not right. And if you don't feel it, I mean, I got to ask the question, is the Most High with you? That you don't double think something before you do it? You say it? You know, that's what I have to say on it.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and take the floor. Okay. So with this question, what is more important? Obedience to authority that is over you with certain methodologies that are affecting you spiritually, mentally, and even physically in a negative way. I'm going to stop there. Might be different because I'm a man, and a lot of times the authority figures are men, especially over men. So I got to speak as a man, and my authority figures normally be a man. And respectfully, what I normally say to those that are that have authority in regards to me or over me in regards to the culture, or whether it's years, whether it's experience, I typically tell them, and Chief Prince Abulan can vouch or not vouch for what I'm saying, that I would listen to what they're saying. I will consider it and more than likely actually do it if it's righteous as one, and if it's not affecting me in those manners. Now, I'm not a fool to say that some people typically would use that example of being mentally or spiritually or physically affected negatively, not based off of balance, not based off of being objective. They'll be basing it off of their emotion and being subjective. Well, I don't really want to do it anyway, so I'm just gonna go. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't really want to listen to this dude. I'm a man myself. So I'm not talking in that manner. I'm talking about really affecting you spiritually, mentally, and physically. I believe that the Torah or our Tanakh or our literature has things in place to make sure that you are protected spiritually, physically, and mentally. So when I'm saying right here in this question, when I read this question, what is more important, obedience to authority that is over you with certain methodologies that are affecting you, that in these ways that I just pointed out? True authority, and those authority that's over the Most High, that's of the Most High, so luckily, I believe are going to make sure that you are not affected spiritually, mentally, and physically in a negative way. Sometimes it does, and when I say in a negative way, I want to make sure I really clarify what I'm trying to say, because sometimes you do need to get broken down to become great. But with that breaking down, it still is a level of how much to make sure you maintain that mental, to be mentally balanced, physically well, and spiritually, on point. So a good someone of authority is going to make sure that that's the case, in my opinion. So, or is it okay to be disobedient to that? I believe that as long as it's righteous and you have a foundation and that template, and you I keep saying exhaust everything that you can, and yeah, I would not be under leadership or authority as a man following or under a man that is not caring about those things, because if I'm under this man, they want to make sure that a good one of authorities want to make sure that I am equipped in those departments so that I can pass it on to the next man and the people after me. If they're not focused on that, then I can't be under them. And I don't think that anywhere in our Tanakh you will not see that these men were not caring about the stability in these men. You can even see this with Abraham and Lot. Abraham knew, and let me know if I'm still skipping. Hopefully you all can still see me. Abraham knew that things wasn't working out with him and Lot, but he still wanted to make sure that Lot was taken care of, and they part away on good terms. That's good authority, that's good leadership, and that's caring about Lot. If that care is not present, I'm pulling back. And with that, I want to pass the floor to the better Sharon or Uncle Sharon.
Kane, I'm going to say the first part of this question is more important. Because when I read the question, the key word to me is certain, right? And then the next key word to me is negative, mentally, spiritually, and things like that. My experience, a lot of times, just because something is affecting me mentally and spiritually negatively doesn't mean it isn't righteous. For a certain example, vengeance is YAH. That affects me mentally and spiritually because I be wanting to take vengeance in my own hands. But that's not a righteous move, That's not a righteous act. So even though something affects us negatively, mentally and spiritually, that doesn't mean that it isn't righteous. I look at all the models. I look at all the examples in Torah that went through trials and tribulations in a negative way. However, it was for the greater good and the rewards was great, So sometimes I do believe that you have to be broken down for something greater. So I would say that's more important is to stick with obedience, even though it may affect us negatively, spiritually and mentally. Still stick with that because we don't know the end result to that. It's a greater reward to that. And also, like I said before, nice. I'm gonna keep it nice, simple, sweet. Even though it may affect us negatively or in a negative way, it doesn't mean that it isn't righteous or it's unrighteous. A lot of things that's righteous can affect us in a negative way, and I just stated the example. Vengeance is YAH. We all love to take vengeance when someone crosses us, someone do us harm, or when we vibrate on that low level, we want instant gratification. We want something to happen instantly, but that's not a righteous move. Another example: a soft answer turns away wrath. That can be spiritually and mentally bothersome, But however, that's not a righteous move to make. So I would have to say, the first part is more being sticking to obedience of authority until that great reward, until you can get to that end result, until the end game of why you're going through that refinement period. It's more important to me. Absolutely.
Kane, it sounded like you said some good stuff. Just came back slightly. I see she said Kane, sis. So he probably was going in. All right. I'm gonna let Chief Prince Abulam close us out with this topic. What's your thoughts on it? And don't worry, I watch back on the show, so I'm definitely gonna go back to what you said. I was wrong. Just had to take a quick one. Pass it back to Chief Prince Abulam. TMI, I know TMI.
I pretty much agree with pretty much everybody's sentiment. I do think that there's is a hell of a balance game that has to be employed in these such circumstances like this, because like with me, like I came out of a congregational tradition that was very, very keen on authority and hierarchy and being accountable. So we understood that, like for instance, when elders walked into a room, and this is something that you don't really see a lot, like nowadays, but when an elder walked into the room, in the camp or congregation, everybody rose before them, stood up, and saluted that elder. So there was always an understanding that authority had to permeate all aspects of our of the congregation and all aspects of our life. Now, with that said, sometimes authority can be like power; it can corrupt.
Okay.
And like I said, like they say, absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is what we sometimes see with authority, and therefore we begin to understand that authority is subjective, because you can be given authority but can also lose authority based on your movements. Look at Melech David and Melech Shaul. Well, let's look at David and Melech Shaul. Shaul was the king. He was the anointed, the Messiah of that particular point in time. And although David respected Shaul, and although Shaul was trying to kill him, he respected him, gave him that space. But it was obvious that David was not going to necessarily bow to that authority per se, because he understood that this man is a detriment now to me. So on one hand, he respects the authority and says, okay, I'm not going to lift a finger against Yah's anointed. But at the same time, David already understood, I'm about to be out of here, because Shaul is about to take a fall and I'm going to ascend to that very same position. We got to kind of approach everything in the same way. We look at our elders and we look at our authority figures in the community, and we have to give them that salutation until they prove that they can no longer be authoritative. And then you can respectfully bow out from them, respectfully. I think that's important. But to the point of the second part of it, let me read it again. What is more important? Obedience to authority that is over you with certain methodologies that are affecting you spiritually, mentally, and even physically in a negative way, or disobedience that may or may not allow you to thrive in the areas that Yah has created for you. So yeah, I mean, and I think Sharon had brought it out effectively. I'm not gonna try to remix that statement that she made, but that it's that sometimes something that might feel negative, like, oh, it's bruising my spirit, but sometimes that's a good thing. I mean, look at the situation that happened with Job. He was afflicted all across the board. Everything was a damn affliction for him. Losing family, losing everything. Yet we saw the outcome of what that was able to do for him and his character. So, negative, feeling negative is not necessarily a bad thing. But on the flip side, something that feels good or that is agreeable to the spirit may not be righteous or agreeable either. And this is where, of course, wisdom comes in. Goes back to our previous topics, where we now have to be wise in our assessment of the situation, and just consult with other people in order to kind of figure these things out. Because if you move emotionally, moving emotionally is for people who will have an appetite for destruction. You have to be able to think rationally and say, okay, I know how this makes me feel, but feeling is a fleeting thing, and it could be good or it could be evil. So let me do this rationally. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I don't really have that much to offer. After that, I think everybody else pretty much hammered that away.
All praises. For those that's tuning in, make sure you go to YAH Conscience Radio on YouTube and make sure you subscribe, like, share this topic right here and other ones as well that can be beneficial for the people. All these Yeledim, shalom, Yeledim. Everybody coming forth, showing themselves. Shalom. Or shalom, whichever one you say. You wanted to say something when I said that, didn't you, Chief? I know you wanted to say something.
Shalom, Brakaya.
Right.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Salam, shalom.
All of them.
It's all good.
All right, you all. We're gonna go ahead and close out and play the last song of this evening, and then from there, as Chief always say, Yebreka or Yebrechem. In this case, I'm talking to more people. Yebrechem, Yeshmarechem. All right, but we're going to go ahead and play this last song. And the last song is Kadima. We got to close out with some Hebrew if we speak in Hebrew, right? We talking about Hebrew. Here we go. I don't know why I can't find it, you all. But Kadima is dealing with Ben Blackwell out of the community. The Mona Israel. Make sure you all look that up. Learn about him. Ben Ami Ben Israel. Big transition. Everybody know Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, Malcolm X. We know all these men, but don't nobody talk about Ben Ami Ben Israel.
When it goes, oh, in another one. Yeah, and it goes. כמה זמן לקח לי רק כדי לכבוש אותך וכמה זמן נפלתי כדי לחיות ברמה שלה קדימה, קדימה, go, go, go קדימה די עזבי אותי קדימה, קדימה go, go, go את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר נו כבר קדימה, קדימה go, go, go קדימה די עזבי אותי קדימה, קדימה go, go, go את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר נו כבר לכי ממי אני לא נושם כבר נפלתי לא יכול יותר אני לא מחפש לריב נמאס לי כבר יאללה ביי קדימה צילי מחיי משקיע את כל מה שיש בתוך הלב מרוויח עולם שצער והרבה כאב מרחם עלייך כי הגלגל לא תסתובב הגלגל לא תסתובב זוכר את הלילות, זוכר את המילים שגרמו למריבות זוכר את השקרים שהתחפשו כהבטחות זוכר שלבד גם אפשר לחיות אבל עזבי שטויות בינתיים פה יושב מוחק את העבר המערכת יחסים הפכה עבר וזה בסדר מצידי כל עוד האש בוערת לא ירד שלג בליבי ביי היה פעם קשר רציני עכשיו הקשר רק מזיק כי הקשר לא בריא לאהבה אין צומי בשבילי עד שמצאתי אהבה כבר איבדתי את עצמי ניסינו מיליון פעם ולא עבד ליבך כבר לא נמצא אצלי ביד לא האמנתי מההתחלה הגעתי לטוב באוטו שלי לבד One time. F-A-M-O. כמה זמן לקח לי רק כדי לכבוש אותך וכמה זמן נפלתי כדי לחיות ברמה שלה קדימה, קדימה go, go, go קדימה די עזבי אותי קדימה, קדימה go, go, go את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר נו כבר קדימה, קדימה go, go, go קדימה די עזבי אותי קדימה, קדימה go, go, go את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר נו כבר לכי ממי אני לא נושם כבר נפלתי לא יכול יותר אני לא מחפש לריב נמאס לי כבר יאללה ביי קדימה צילי מחיי
יאו תגידי כמה פעמים כבר ניהלנו את השיחה הזו לא זוכר
וכמה פעמים כבר נכנסנו לפינה הזו, וואלה לא סופר. המבוי סתום, כבר ניסינו הכל ולא השגנו מאום. הכביש חסום, לא יעזור כלום, איתנו זה תמיד נגמר בבום. הלכנו לסרט ושתק כל הדרך, את לא מדברת גם בארוחת ערב, כל כך רחוקה ומנוכרת, זה ככה כבר חצי שנה בערך, אני לא קולט מה שאת משדרת, אולי פשוט כדאי שנשחרר, נעזוב הכל ונוותר, מה שהיה כבר לא יהיה יותר, בואי נעצור לפני שזה מידרדר, שיהיה לפחות נעים להיזכר. בזמנים שהיה לנו טוב, לפני שהכל התחיל לכאוב, חשבנו שנהיה ביחד עד הסוף, עד הסוף. בזמנים שהרגשנו אני רואה את המבט בעינייך, מותק להמשיך לא כדאי בי, אבל לא אולי הגיע הזמן לומר לך ביי.
כמה זמן לקח לי רק כדי לכבוש אותך, וכמה זמן נפלתי, כמה זמן כדי לחיות ברמה שלה. קדימה, קדימה, קדימה די עזבי אותי, קדימה, קדימה, את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר לא כבר, קדימה, קדימה, קדימה די עזבי אותי, קדימה, קדימה, את רואה שכבר לא מסתדר לא כבר, לכי ממי אני לא נושם, כבר נפלתי לא יכול יותר, אני לא מחפש לריב, נמאס לי כבר, יאללה ביי, קדימה צילי מחיי, פאפאי, 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 קדימה, קדימה, פאפאי, 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 קדימה, קדימה.
There's another one. Hey man, look, real quick, before I close it out, you all. You know, when I first heard that song, I was like, why is he saying go? And I think if more Ethan listening right now, I saw you just comment on Facebook. But if you're listening right now, you probably could agree with me. I was like, that ain't the word for go. You know what I'm saying? You got to go, lelech, you got lech for go as a command. I'm like, what is kadima? But what I found out is kadima is literally like forward, but it is technically like to go forward. So go forward. Kadima. I was like, the Hebrew language is beautiful. I'm telling you all. You all to be hating on. Go ahead, Chief. I know you want to say something.
Oh no, what I was just gonna say was no. But what's interesting though, and I like how he decided to use Kodima. What is because what is another word that is also derived from the same root that Kodima is from? What is the word for east?
Say that again.
What is the word for east?
That is dealing with going east, right? Kadima?
Yep. Eastward. So going eastward.
Eastward. Oh, he did that on purpose.
Yeah, because Kwadma, you know what I'm saying, it means to go, but in the direction of east. That's why what I thought, I was like, because he could have used any other word. He could have used any other word, you know what I'm saying, to stay go or to proceed. Any other word could have accomplished the goal. But why that word? Because because he's trying to specifically send you to go in a certain direction. Go to the east. I thought that was ingenious.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal artist. For those of you that do not know who Ben Blackwell is, and I know some people don't speak Hebrew, but if you're trying to speak Hebrew, and again, we can get into the debate, what's Hebrew, what's not. I'm under the school of thought, and I don't know if it's really a school of thought. I think I might be creating my own doctrine in regards to this. But you know, people like Spanish, people like French, all this. If you don't think this is the real Hebrew, at least just learn it. It's another language. We don't speak on a large scale. We don't speak multiple languages. Why not? It's the language of the book that you read. Whether it's Lash, but I ain't gonna get upset. Learn the Lashawan, learn the modern, learn all that, but learn Hebrew, whatever form you learn it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, man. And it's like, I love Hebrew.
And it's like if you're saying, Kadima, Kidma, whatever. A person might say, "Wow, that's that." They see it. Okay, fine. But then how do you say it in Lashawan Kodash? Kodama.
Right. Just say Kodama there,
So
right?
cool. Right. Just and keep it moving. Like it's not that serious. It's like, listen, it's just the point, like you said, of just learn it. Whatever you need to learn just learn the language.
Yeah,
Whatever
it's a
language or
beautiful
dialect
thing,
that you
man.
choose.
I'm listening to it, and I'm gonna close out after I say this, and then if the Nashim want to say anything to close us out, please do. But it's amazing, whatever language you learn, whether it's Spanish, whether it's whatever language. I prefer Hebrew first, but to be listening and you can catch words that you know what I'm saying, when you listen to it and it's just like, oh, I know he said that. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes you feel good because you're accomplishing something that you're pushing towards. And that should go in all aspects, all situations, all scenarios of life. Push towards a goal, keep pushing, stay consistent, and you would accomplish it. Just make sure you keep yourself around things and or people that are going to assist in that dynamic. The Most High Yah, in my opinion, this is not a fact, but the consistency that I see is the Most High Yah wants us to be together. We got to stop separating ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Perke abot. And I'm a brutally mess this up when I quote it, but basically to not separate yourself from the community. And that could go in all directions, man. So all praise to the Most High. We got a comment. Let me see what this comment says before I close out. A beautiful language that has layers to the meanings. Oh, shalom, shalom. Why does she look familiar? I feel like she speaks to I think I'm friends with you on Facebook, aren't I? Chandra, Kalia, Israel, but I don't think on Facebook that is your name. Shalom. It's a beautiful language. Toda for your comment. Please subscribe to our channel. If you're able to, go on YouTube, YAH Conscience Radio, talk about matters concerning or pertaining to the Hebrew community and the so-called Black community to all bring us more united. But shalom to you all. Peace to you all. And Yebrechem, Yahweh, Yishmorechem. May the Most High bless you and keep you all. Shalom. Lehitrot. Well,